Let's learn how to create a pull request inside of the GitHub platform. A pull request is the ability to review code before you merge it into another branch. So if you create a feature branch for an application and you want to merge all of the code that you've created into, say, a main branch, a pull request allows anybody with read access to the repository to view all of the changes that you're making. Once somebody with access to accept the pull request actually accepts it, what will happen is you'll then merge all of the code from that feature branch into the base branch. So how do we do that? Well, first, we need a branch that actually has committed changes to it. So here you can see that I have this some changes branch and it says that I have recent pushes to that branch. Then on the right, we have this button saying compare and pull request. This will allow us to see the diff between the two branches. Right now, I actually have the main branch selected here. And what will happen is when I hit compare and pull request, it will take whatever is in this some changes branch and give us a diff to review and compare. So let's click this button. Now you'll be taken to a screen where you can open up the pull request. Here you need to add a title. I'll just leave whatever it gave me, update app test.java, because that's what happened in this branch. And then you can give it a description. Now it's a good practice to actually add some value here with some description of what the feature or what the branch that you're merging actually was doing. Once you add the description, you can actually scroll down and see the diff of all of the changes in this branch. This allows you to review this one last time before you actually open the pull request. Now the changes won't immediately be accepted, but you might want to just scroll through this to make sure you're not including something that you didn't mean to. Once you're satisfied with what you see, you can just click the create pull request button. Now there's a drop down here to actually create a draft pull request. What that does is it won't actually create the pull request. It'll just create a draft and you can later edit it or do anything that you want to do before it's actually opened and notified to all of the owners or writers of the repository. For us, we'll just create the pull request. So now that we have the pull request open, immediately some actions are kicked off. We have some checks that need to be passed because we updated some tests. Those tests may need to be ran, and we'll see that in this window immediately. From here, since I am the owner of this repository, I can actually just merge the pull request. If you don't have write access, you won't see this button. Instead, what will happen is the owners of the repository will be notified and they'll have to come and check this pull request to make sure that it is acceptable. When you're on this pull request menu, when you open it up and you see that it is in the open task, what can happen is you can add any comments that you want. There's this conversation window that you can create with anyone that has read access to the repository. You also have the ability to look at the commits that are associated with this branch, and you can see any checks that may have passed or failed, and then you can see all the files that were changed inside of this branch. I'll go ahead and click merge pull request, and then I'll confirm the merge. So now that this branch has been merged, we can just use this button to delete the branch because we don't need it anymore. From here, our pull request is finished, but I want to show you one other way to open up a pull request. If you go up to the top and click on pull requests, you can get this menu. From here, you have a button over here that says new pull request. If we click this, you'll see that we can now compare between two different branches. We have our base branch, which we're merging into, and our source branch, which we are taking all of the changes from and pushing them to that branch. If you click the drop down, you can change to any other branch that you want. You actually don't even have to use the main default branch as the base branch. You can use any other branch, and you can also compare across forks. So if you didn't have access to create a branch on the repository, what you can do is you can fork that repository, create the branch on your new forked repository, and then come back to the original repository and compare between the one that you forked and the main one. To do that, you can see that there's this saying here to compare across all forks. You have to click this button. So what we'll do is we'll compare across forks, and this opens up this owner menu where you have to choose what repository you're actually trying to merge changes into. From here, this Maven project is our main repository, and over here we actually have this _software Maven project fork, which I created. And now what we can do is we can actually change to a different branch that we want to merge into this main repository branch. So I have this some forked branch, which has one change to it. And what I'll do from here is just create a pull request that's now going to merge changes from my forked repository to the main repository. From here, everything else is the same, and we can create the pull request. Now, again, if you're not an owner or don't have write access to the repository, you won't see the merge pull request button right down here. But if you are, you can just merge it automatically. This is the kind of way that you can commit to open source projects, because a lot of the times sometimes you won't necessarily have write access to the open source repository. What you have to do is you have to fork the repository, create all of your changes in some other branch, and then merge those changes into the main repository using this compare forks pull request. So I'll go ahead and merge this pull request, confirm the merge, and that is how you open a pull request inside of the GitHub platform.